Good evening, everyone. I am Lynn Shaw of Two Girls and a Book, and I am here this afternoon to chat with you about my mid-April wrap-up and to check in with you guys, see how everyone is doing out there with the quarantine. There, that's a little better. With the quarantine and everything, I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely ready for this to be over with. I'm in dire need of having my nails done. I need a good trim. I need my highlights redone. I mean, look at these ends. Look at these ends. Yeah, I have fared well thus far through the quarantine. No complaints. I'm okay with being home. It doesn't bother me that I'm not out shopping or anything like that. But being stuck at home and not being able to get my hair done and my nails done is starting to get to me a little bit. But aside from that, everything's going good. Join me tonight and post your comments. Let me know where you are watching from and what your quarantine is like for you. Looks like we have Jenny Bynum joining us. Hi, Jenny. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Basically, just here to chat a little bit about the quarantine and to talk about my mid-April wrap-up. This being home so much has made it possible for me to do a lot of reading. So I am, instead of waiting to the end of the month to do this and having 10 or 15 books to talk about, I figured I better split it up a little bit so that I wouldn't spend hours on here talking your guys' ears off. So let's go ahead and jump right in and see what I have been up to. The first book that I have for you tonight is a novella from Melanie Gilbert. You guys have seen her on here several times. She's been on to talk about her Faye Brothers Ever Afters series. All of those books are out now. Deal was the last full-length novel, and it came out last month. Fantastic covers, great stories, highly recommend it. This is the novella, and it's a Hansel and Gretel retelling, and it focuses on Pierre and Petrina, who are the Danvilles. They are the Faye parents who are talked about throughout the entire series and who raise the sons that the books are based off of. You do not have to be caught up on the series in order to read the novella because it doesn't talk about those characters. It primarily focuses on how Petrina and Pierre met and their courtship, so to speak, and how they got together. So it's a great read. You can take it and knock it out in an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. If you're a really quick reader, you could get through it in probably an hour. It's just an added little bonus story that is available on, I believe it's April the 21st. It will be available. You can go to melaniegilbert.com to go ahead and pre-order from all major outlets. Hi, Melanie. Thanks for joining us. Deception, like I said, is the novella, and it will be out on April the 22nd. I got to read an arc, so you guys are going to love it. And again, you don't have to be caught up on the series in order to enjoy this one, so happy reading. Oh, and it's available for 99 cents. Speaking of Hansel and Gretel, since I'm working at home, I am also listening to audiobooks at home as well, which is a little different because in my car, I don't really have anything else to focus on except for the story, the audiobook, and at home I get distracted a little bit. So honestly, I'm not enjoying the audiobooks at home as much as I did in the car. My husband even suggested that maybe I just needed to get in the car and ride around for an hour every day. May have to do that. But speaking of Hansel and Gretel, I listened to an audiobook that was also a Hansel and Gretel retelling. This is called The Shrike and the Shadows, and it is written by Chantel Catteroy. I'm not sure if I'm saying that last name correct or not, and I apologize for butchering it, and A.M. Wright. This is a like I said, a retelling of Hansel and Gretel. It's a darker, more grim retelling. And this one incorporates witches. It has werewolves. It was definitely a unique telling. It's a darker telling. There's lots of action in this one. Really wasn't any downtime in the entire series, in the entire book. And I enjoyed the audiobook a lot. The cover for the book is the same as the cover on the audiobook. And my copy here is not really as clear, but you can see a little heart there in the center where there's some flowers and things around it. It's a great looking cover if you can see it in person or pick up a copy of it yourself. And the story, again, was awesome. I actually did this as part of an audio bookworm book tour, so you can check that out. It is on my blog. And if you go to twogirlsinabook.com/blog, and when you get to the blog, you can click on either Lynn's Reviews or an audio bookworm production, and you'll be able to take a look at the full review for this one. I definitely recommend it. It was great. I believe Melanie is reading this one as well as part of her reading list for the month of April, and is going to be talking about that at the end of the month over on her page when she does her shows on Wednesday. So stay tuned for her take on it as well. Looks like we've had some additional people join us. Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you being here tonight. Looks like Liz has that same problems with audiobooks as well. I devour them in the car, but normally when I don't work from home, I am in the car for an hour in the morning. If the weather's nice, I take my lunch hour and I listen then as well. And then it's an hour drive back home in the evening. So I can knock out a full-length audiobook in a week. And if it's some of the little shorter novellas, I can sneak in 2 or 3 of those a week. So, you know, in the car, you can focus. There's nothing else that you have going on, nothing else that you're doing. So it's easy to get caught up in the audiobook. But at home, I'm working, I'm listening to the audiobook, the phone rings, the dog comes in, the husband comes in, whatever. I get distracted and I find myself having to flip back a little bit to get caught up, or just stop and go back and listen to it at a later time. So I don't know if maybe I need to take my lunch hour and just sit outside in the swing, enjoy it with some headphones, and chill out, or what. I'm going to have to try that. But yeah, so that's a little different being at home and trying to do that. Hi, Mary. Thanks for joining us. Mary says that she will turn off the lights and lay down if she's listening to an audiobook at home. That's a thought as well. I may have to try that out, Mary. Thanks for the great tip. So if you are just joining us, I am doing my mid-April wrap-up. Being at home means I get to read and check out a lot more books. So rather than save all of them for my normal end-of-the-month wrap-up, I am breaking it up this time. Otherwise, I'd be here for hours chatting about all the books I have been devouring. Keeping up with that, another audiobook that I listened to this month is called Come Back to the Swamp, and it's by Laura Morrison. This book and audiobook is with Black Spot Books, and I actually have a signed copy of the book from the author. I met her at Once Upon a Book 3 years ago, I think, if I remember correctly. And it is a unique perspective, looking at the swamp, looking at it from an ecologist point of view, someone who's wanting to, you know, save the wetlands. And it's an interesting take on that. And the audiobook version came out this month, and I had the pleasure of, again, through an audiobook bookworm, I got a chance to listen to and review this. And I have to say, I enjoyed the book the first time I read it. It was different than anything I had ever read before. And then having it on audiobook, it completely gave me a different feel for the story. It really came alive for me. The narrator did a fantastic job with the voices, and she really made the Swamp Witch come to life for me. Um, I'm seriously going to think about her every time I pull a weed or spray Roundup in my yard and pray that she doesn't come charging out of the woods to get me. It's not a scary story by any means, but it definitely gives you a lot to think about. And if you are interested in checking out this book, I highly recommend you look at the audiobook for this one. And if you want any more information on it, you can go to blackspotbooks.com. We've had a few more people pop in. Looks like Jenny is with us. Yes, Jenny, Blackspot has some great books. Seven Jane is one of their authors, and she's a great writer. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out any of her Havenwood Falls books, or she also has a, and I'm drawing a blank for the title. I have the book, and I'm completely drawing it. Let's see. Here we go. It's called The Isle of Gold. Whoops, there we go. And it's by Seven Jane. She is with Blackspot Books also. That is very much got a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of feel to it. It is a high seas adventure with pirates and sea witches and that sort of thing, and ghost as well. It's a fantastic read, and it's beautifully written. So if you're looking at checking out Blackspot Books, I highly recommend you check out that one with them as well. Let's see. Mary says she just noticed the dragon back there. I got him at PenCon. He came in a goodie basket that I won from an author, and her name was Roxanne Witherall. I got him, and it came with some of her books. It came with a Kindle and the dragon, some wine. I haven't read any of her books yet. I did purchase one of her series, the complete series, which is how I got entered to win the giveaway that she had, and ended up with the little dragon. So yep, there he is, hanging out on the shelf. I'm glad you noticed him. Good eye. Good eye. Yes, Liz Ferry. We were talking about Isle of Gold. I drew a blank there for just a minute, but yeah, that's a great book, and Blackspot is awesome. That's actually where I heard about Liz from, and that she does editing and stuff. So if any of you guys listed in here are authors, make sure you check out Liz as well for her editing skills and services. Yes, Mary, goodie baskets are awesome. I do love a good goodie basket. So without further ado, let's jump back in here and see what else we have. This is a new to me author. She's certainly not a new author. She has quite a litany of books available. Her name is April Henry, and this is called The Lonely Dead, and it's a YA ghost murder mystery. And like I said, this is the first book that I have read by April. I definitely plan on checking out other books by her. This was really good. The main character, she of course can see dead people, and she can talk to the dead. It runs in her family. Her great-grandmother, grandmother, and her mother all had it. Everyone thought they were crazy. The only person in her family that is still alive, excuse me, is her grandfather, and he thinks that she's schizophrenic and she needs to be medicated. But she stops taking her medicine, and of course she can see the dead again, and it just so happens that she comes upon the dead body of someone that she goes to school with, that she used to be friends with, and she finds the body, she sees the ghost, she talks to her, and the ghost, who is Tori, tries to convince her to help her figure out who murdered her and solve the mystery. So, of course, you've got the paranormal supernatural aspect with the fact that she can see ghosts. You've got the murder mystery in that a girl from school has been murdered. Of course, the police are looking at the dead girl's boyfriend, her parents. They're also looking at this main character. And yes, I keep referring to her as the main character because I've completely drawn a blank as to what her name is. So it's important to her that she solve this murder mystery because the police are looking at her. There's evidence against her because she found the body. She knew things about the condition of the body that no one else did. So there's a lot of factors that point to her being the killer, but of course we know she didn't do it. Now, the only thing I will say about this book that I did not like is when it got to the very end and it was time to reveal who the killer was. I felt like that scene was kind of rushed. Personally, I wanted it to be a little more drawn out, a little more angst-ridden, and it wasn't. It was still good. It's just I had built it up so much, I guess, in my mind getting to this point that I expected it to be bigger than what it was. So I don't know how much of that was the author's fault or mine. But regardless, I enjoyed the book. The ending, I needed a little more than just the reveal in which they made. But all in all, I enjoyed the book, and this is definitely an author that I am going to check out again. Yes, Adele, that's her name. Thank you so much, Mary. This is what happens when you read so much and you don't make any notes before you go live. You forget who the characters are. And I am awful, just absolutely awful with names. It doesn't matter if it's character name or if we've met face to face. I'm awful. So, sticking with the theory and the theme of ghost, I also checked out try this again. I also checked out a new to me author that comes highly recommended from Kelly Martin, and this is Mary Downing Hahn, and this is called Deep and Dark and Dangerous. I thank you, Mary. I appreciate that you look up the books that I talk about. As a blogger, that means a lot to me because, a lot of these books, probably 90% of what I read is indie based. So these people aren't getting a lot of advertising done on them and that sort of thing. So any little bit that I can do to help spread the word, I do. And it means a lot to me when I know that you guys are listening and you're actually popping in out there and taking a look at some of these as well. So thank you, Mary. You made my night. Anyway, back to Mary Downing Hahn. This is called Deep and Dark and Dangerous. And yes, it is a ghost story. This is a middle grade ghost story. And this is kind of a new genre for me. I got into it because Kelly Martin came out with What Rachel Did back in February, I believe. And I absolutely loved that book. Loved it. Yes, I have it. What Rachel Did. Whoops. There we go. Everything's backwards with the camera. I will never, ever figure that out. So anyway, she is a huge fan of this author. So I picked up this book on Kindle Unlimited. And it is a ghost story. It is about a young girl. Her name is Sissy. And she was murdered probably 25, 30 years prior. And her ghost, and I say ghost loosely because she's as solid as you and I are in this story. So she meets up with two young girls on the beach, and she befriends them. but she's not really overly nice. And she the reason why she becomes friends with these girls is because she's after one of their parents. Um, and that's really all I can say without giving away a spoiler to this one. I hate it when these books are so good and you can't really talk about it, because if you do, then you give away the entire story. But if you are a fan of Kelly Martin's writings, then you will love Mary Downing Hahn. And like I said, it is middle grade. So if you're looking for something to read with your kids, it's perfect for that. Definitely, definitely a clean read. Um, it has that spook factor, enough to make you kind of question when you hear something bump in the middle of the night and it's 2 a.m. and you're still reading it. Because yes, I started this one and I blew through it in one night. I think I started like around 10 or 11, and it was 2:30, 3 o'clock that morning before I closed the Kindle. And yeah, so I am definitely going to be checking out some other books by this author. I have already grabbed another one from her on Kindle Unlimited, and it is, it is also a ghost story as well. And she writes a lot of middle grade. So if that's something that you guys are interested in checking out, that's another new to me author, but not a new author. So definitely worth looking into. And let's see, I do have some more on here. Okay. Back in March, I had author Heather Karn on here, and she talked about her First Blood trilogy series. And I was fascinated by the premise. So I actually already owned the first book. I had bought it from her at a previous event. So I read it, devoured it, absolutely loved it. And I have since contacted her and ordered the entire series from her, but our Rona got canceled, so I didn't get to make it. But hopefully I will see her at Once Upon a Book, and I will get to purchase the rest of the series from her. This is book 2 in the series, and it's called Second Lineage. Yes, Melanie, Raven. Raven is amazing. Second Lineage is a great book. It is the follow-up to the First Blood. So the main character is Coda. She is part of the elite, and Raven, who is on this cover, is her trainer. She's his trainee. And in Second Lineage, we dive in a little bit into Raven's past. He has to take her underground. Can't tell you why, because that would be a spoiler, but he takes her underground to where her family lives. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, Melanie. So, anywho, we get a look at a little bit about Raven's past. We get to meet his family and what it's like for the people that are living still underground, who are not functioning in the day-to-day world, who still think they need to be hidden. So yeah, this is a paranormal book. It's got witches, it's got shifters, it's got vampires, it's got a little bit of everything in it. Just to give you a little backstory. And the elite, their job is to protect the humans from these paranormal and supernatural creatures. So Coda has recently found out, well, let me back up. In the first book, we learned that Coda is adopted, which is no secret. She knew that. But the first book ends with a cliffhanger in which some information is revealed as to who her birth parents are. So book 2 picks up where book 1 left off, and she's investigating to find out information about her birth parents. And some clues are left for her that she has to follow so that she can locate a gentleman who knew her parents and can provide her with some additional information. So that's where Raven and the team come in. They accompany Coda to Raven's home, his first home, well, to his parents' home. And Yes, thank you, Mary. We are enamored with him. That's putting it mildly. Um, so we get a look at what Raven's home life was like. Um, Coda gets some information on her parents, and she gets a key point in which she finds out more information about the house that she belongs to and what that means for her. And again, I'm vague booking it so bad, and I hate that, but spoilers. So yeah, if you're a fan of paranormal, supernatural, all that goodness, I highly recommend this series and that you guys check it out. I am reading the third one now, Zero Tolerance, which is completely focused on Raven, how he joined the elite, and the training that he went through, and how he got in the position that he's in now, where he commands his own team and that sort of thing. And then the final book after that, and no, I say final, but it's not really. The book after that is called The Third House, and then I will have completed this part of the First Blood trilogy. There is another book after that. It's called Fourth Bunker. I haven't read it yet. It's with the betas now, and I wasn't caught up enough so that I could dive into Fourth Bunker, but I have it on good authority from Melanie that it's amazing. I know that it picks up from this series and has some of the same characters in it. I'm not sure what that series name is or anything else about it, but rest assured that when I finish the First Blood series, we are going to have Heather back on here to talk about it, and we are definitely going to talk about where things pick up with Fourth Bunker. So stay tuned for more information on that, and make sure you check out the First Blood trilogy from Heather Karn. So, so much has been going on. I do want to give a shout out really quick to last week's guest, and that was Jordan Thompson. Jordan, this is her debut novel, What Lurks Below, and it is published with Monster Ivy Publishing. So if you guys are interested in checking out anything else about this book, make sure you head over to monsterivypublishing.com to see what this is about. Jordan was on last week. A lot of her family joined the page. It was just a great turnout and such a huge response from them. And it was so nice just to chat with them online, both before and after the interview and everything. And ultimately, that's what the goal of all of this is to bring the authors and the readers and the fans together. And it became such a wholesome family night, and it was awesome. So I want to thank Jordan and her family again for joining me last week, and for letting me be the first person who got to interview her. How exciting for me that I got to do that. Jordan is an absolute sweetheart. If you missed that interview, I am going to be uploading it up to YouTube, and I'll have a link posted here in the group as well if you guys want to go back and check it out. But it was a fantastic interview, and we had an absolute blast. So I highly recommend that you head over to Monster Ivy Publishing and check that out. Now, for the rest of the month, I am going to be beta reading a new book from Heather Karn. It is a science fiction book, and that is all that I know about it. Hadn't started it yet. I've gotten a copy of it, and that's what I plan to do this weekend, is to take a look at that. So I am super excited to dive into a new book from her and see what that is all about. I am also going to be reading an ARC. This is from Monster Ivy Publishing as well, and it's called The Legend of the Storm Sneezer. I am fascinated by this cover. It is also a middle grade book. The cover is just, there's so much happening here. There's a girl flying through the air. There's the moon and the clouds. There's what appears to be either an angel or a demon there on the ground, and it looks like he's in the middle of a cemetery. So there appears to be a whole lot going on with this book, and based solely on the cover, I can't wait to read it. Definitely looking forward to this. I am going to be reaching out to Christiana, and I'm not even going to begin to try to say her last name, but I am going to be reaching out to Christiana. This book comes out in May, and so after I read it and speak to her, I'm going to see about her coming on in May after her book releases so that we can chat with her and find out all about this book. I'm very, very excited to be diving into this one. So that pretty much wraps up my mid-month wrap-up. What are you guys doing? What are you reading? What do you want to share with me? How's the quarantine going? Are you like me? Are you ready to chop your hair off? I literally had a nightmare last night that my hair was cut to here. So look at how much that is coming off of it. That much. So I dreamed it was cut off to here, and that it was dyed a dark chocolate brown. And I almost woke up in tears because I like it long. It's a little too long. It's past my bra strap. I need it just a hair above my bra strap. There's a very fine line of where it needs to be and when it's too long. And we've crossed that line and then some. So I am dying to have a haircut. I had my nails done the day before they locked down my town and closed down all of the hairdressers and nail salons and all that. So these babies have grown out. You can't really tell much from the picture, but they've grown out. They're too long. It interferes with my typing. They've reached the point where probably by next week or the week after that, the acrylic will be popping off of them. They're my nails with acrylic on top of them. So whether I soak the acrylic off or I let it pop off, the nails are going to be ruined. So I'm very, very disheartened by all that. So yeah, it's pretty much where I'm living right now. I'm a girl in need of maintenance. So how are you guys doing? What's going on with you? Let's see what Jenny is up to. Let's grab some comments from over here and see what you guys are up to. I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys tonight. So Jenny is reading an ARC, and it's Jeans by Mary Ting, and it's the 3rd book in the series. I have not read that series at all. I am familiar with the author. I've read a couple of her books, so I'm going to have to add that to the list of things I need to check out. Let's see. Mary is with us as well, and she says she's tempted to chop about 4 inches. Wait, I'm tempted to chop mine down to about 4 inches total again. Mary, all I can say is refrain. Refrain, refrain, refrain. We are all in this together, and we need to come out of this with good hair. So, refrain. Let's see that Melanie is dealing with the kiddos. I've live chatted with her a couple of times, video chatted with her a couple of times. So I can attest to little munchkins running around in the background and jumping on beds and having a free for all. So yeah, I'm sure people with kids at home are going crazy. I don't have any little ones at home to entertain. It's just me and the dogs. My husband is essential, so he is in and out. So I still have a lot of downtime, a lot of quiet time at home. I'm in my office from 9 to 5 working insurance, answering phone calls, that sort of thing. So I stay kind of busy during the day. And then at night, I'm reading and chilling. So really, I'm kind of enjoying that aspect of it. Not really looking forward to going back to 9 to 5 in the actual office. Kind of spoiled working from home. But unfortunately, that's not always going to be the case. I'm glad I get to do it for now. I'm still drawing a paycheck. Not everybody is. So thankful for that. Who else do we have? Okay. Liz is with us, and she says that she's been reading Smarty Pants romance books in between work. I am not a huge romance fan, so you're going to have to tell me a little bit more about those, Liz. Is it contemporary, historical, paranormal, any of that? Now, if it's a paranormal romance, I'm all for it. Contemporary is not really my thing, only because when I'm reading, it's more of an escape for me. And if it's something contemporary, more real life-ish, it's not so much as of an escape, if that makes sense. There are some contemporary authors out there that I do absolutely love. R.K. Riles being one of those. She writes gut-wrenching contemporary books. I mean, just rips your heart out, throws it on the ground, stomps it, digs it through the mud, throws it back in your chest, sends you on your way. And I love her. Okay, Liz says that it is contemporary, but it's very witty. Now, I do like a nice romantic comedy, so I may have to check some of those out. And who else do we have with us? That looks like everybody. I didn't want to miss anything. Well, I have had a blast chatting with you guys tonight and telling you all about the books that I have been reading. I will have this posted with links to the books and where you can get everything when I get it uploaded to YouTube this weekend. So it will be available, or you guys can pop back here on the page and you can rewatch the video as well. I've had a blast with you guys tonight. We did have some new faces in here tonight. Shout out to Liz for popping in. I appreciate new faces. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, Mary and Melanie and Jenny are my faithful trio. I appreciate you guys being here with me again tonight. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening and a happy quarantine. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.